Hey guys, another screencast coming at you. We're going to start today with a joke once again. So, where do you put hardworking hot dogs? On honor rolls. But all right, so we're going to start today by looking at a paragraph that has a few things that could be improved upon. So, try to figure out what you think is wrong with this paragraph as I read it aloud. Littering is ruining the environment. Every day, people throw out pieces of trash and do not think about how they are hurting animals and the environment. Ducks are caught in soda cans, and dogs eat trash that has been thrown out and they get sick. People's careless acts hurt the animals we love as pets and those that live in the wild. The environment suffers as well because of the litter that is not biodegradable. These substances do not disintegrate into the soil and instead can harm the organisms that may be a part of the earth. What do you think is wrong with this paragraph? I'm really curious what some of you guys are thinking right now because you might see more than one thing. One of the things that Mr. O'Brien and I definitely see standing out in this paragraph, and in some of your essays as well, is a lack of transitions or connection between ideas, right? So the ideas do not perfectly connect in this paragraph. So that's one of the main things. I know some of you might have noticed, though, there are no quotes, right? No direct quotes of evidence from an article. And so that might be something that this person could work on adding as well, although they have paraphrased evidence pretty well. All right. So all this being said, guys, the learning objective for today is for you guys to be able to effectively use transitions in your argumentative essays. So transitions. When writing a longer paper, you will need to use transitions or provide transitions. Transitions are connecting links. Okay, you use transitions as links not just between paragraphs, but also between sentences within paragraphs. That's what we're going to look at in just a minute. So, ideas can be linked in a lot of different ways depending on what you want to accomplish. So, if you want to list ideas chronologically, you would use transition words like first, second, third, lastly, etc. If you wanted to intensify the degree of importance of what you are saying, right, and say, although this may be important, this next idea is even more important, you might use words like more importantly, but you might start out using things like, it's somewhat notable that, and so forth. So these are some of the words you might use to discuss the degree of importance of something. Then you might add, right? This is one of the most basic ways to transition, and it's very important. You add ideas by using words like also, in addition, furthermore, etc. You might want to provide examples, and so you transition into your examples with phrases like more specifically, for example, for instance, according to, etc. And then finally, you might want to show your logical reasoning. So you might use words like therefore, and you get into your kind of understanding that is logical of some evidence or whatever it may be. You might use phrases like on the other hand or however, etc. So let's look at how we can add transitions to a paragraph that doesn't have a ton of transition words in it. All right, so we're going to leave the first sentence alone because this is really just topic sentence, right? Littering is ruining the environment. And this next one kind of just elaborates the topic sentence about how it's ruining the environment. It says, every day people throw out pieces of trash and do not think about how they are hurting animals and the environment. All right, so these are two aspects of the environment that are hurt, right? The actual place, but also the animals. Now, we might need to transition into this sentence that reads, ducks are caught in soda cans and dogs eat trash that has been thrown out and they get sick. For me, this is a piece of evidence, right, of how exactly littering hurts animals. And because it's evidence, and an example really, we're going to use one of these transition phrases. So I think I'm just going to use the basic one that a lot of you guys, I know you like this one. For example, and notice I'm going to put a comma after each one of these transition phrases, okay? So for example, comma, ducks are caught in soda cans, and dogs eat trash that has been thrown out and they get sick. People's careless acts hurt the animals we love as pets and those that live in the wild. So there's a couple of different transition words you could use here. You could use therefore, people's careless acts hurt the animals we love as pets. Yeah, I think that sounds good. You could also use a phrase like, this reveals, or this means that people's careless acts hurt the animals we love as pets. Those would kind of transition and connect the ideas as well. But therefore, people's careless acts hurt the animals we love as pets and those that live in the wild. Let's see the next sentence. The environment suffers because of the litter that is not biodegradable. Okay, so what I see happening in this sentence is a shift from talking about animals to talking about the environment, mostly like the earth itself, right? The ground. And so I feel like I want to add a adding transition word, like furthermore. I love that one. So I'll add here furthermore, and we're kind of getting into a slightly different piece of evidence. The environment suffers because of the litter that is not biodegradable. These substances do not disintegrate into the soil and instead can harm the organisms that may be a part of the earth. I'm going to add one here as well. I feel like this sentence here gets more specific about what that means, right? Litter is not, some of the litter that's not biodegradable doesn't disintegrate, etc. So I'm going to use the phrase more specifically, which is another very useful one I find. More specifically, these substances do not disintegrate into the soil and instead can harm the organisms that may be a part of the earth. Okay, so I think it's looking much better. The ideas within the body paragraph are linked, but now we would have to link to a second body paragraph that might be talking about how littering is limiting our ability to recycle effectively or something like that. So we want to add a sentence here that's going to set our reader up to read about how littering is limiting our ability to recycle. And I really like to use phrases like, but that's not all, but in a less cheesy way, right? So littering isn't just ruining the environment in these ways, though. It's also, so I'm kind of using an adding word, right? Hurting our ability, or kind of, I wish I had another word because I'm going to use that in the topic sentence, but we can work on that later. It's also hurting our ability to recycle. Or it's also taking away recyclables. Or it's also wasting, let's do that, wasting recyclables. And now we have a body paragraph that contains transitions within itself, right, between sentences, but it also has this nice transition sentence into the next body paragraph, which would be about how littering hurts our ability to recycle. Okay, so hopefully this is starting to make sense, guys. So I just want to review with you a couple more rules for argumentative writing. You want to try not to be repetitive, and that's why I tried really hard to change kind of the words around in here compared to this topic sentence. You don't want to label your body paragraphs. So you don't want to say my first reason is, my second reason is, etc. My third reason is, to conclude. It gets kind of boring, right? So try to be creative with your transitions. And also remember, do not use the first or second person point of view. So don't use I or you if you can avoid it. All right, so what does all this mean for you? It means that you have to go in and add transitions in your paper, connect your ideas. You should use the transitions not just within the body paragraphs, right, but also try in the conclusion and the intro. And definitely for every body paragraph, you need at least 2 transitions. You might have some of the phrases within, right? Introducing evidence or explaining evidence. You might also have that one sentence, or you need that one sentence linking body paragraphs together. So today's tasks include opening and completing the transitions reference and practice doc, and then adding transitions within your own essay. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly model for you what you have to do on this doc that's called transitions, reference, and practice. So it's got a nice word bank for you to use as you work on your essay today. All right, you can notice these little notes. So for the adding words, it says these might be useful when writing transitions between paragraphs. These might be useful when introducing evidence, right? For example, these words might be useful when explaining or elaborating upon evidence. Therefore, as a result, this means, I should add that one in here maybe. And so forth. All right. Okay, so your task here is to highlight the transition words you see in these paragraphs. Okay, so there's a couple in this box, and then there's a few in this one. So I'm going to do the first one, part of the first one for you guys so that you kind of know what to do. All right, so the first paragraph starts out, many television programs and commercials lack originality and lasting value. Most situation comedies, for example, are downright silly and often insulting to the average viewer. All right, because this is a transition phrase or word, right? I'm going to highlight this in yellow, and I want you guys to try to see if you can find the rest in these two paragraphs and highlight them, just to prove that you've been watching and kind of getting what I'm saying, okay? All right, thanks for listening and have a great day.